Office's Dawnspark. The chipped formica of the dining hall table felt cool under my elbows. Another Tuesday. Another lukewarm plate of something vaguely resembling shepherd's pie. Office's Iron Veil, though everyone just called me Dawnspark, a ridiculous nickname my grandmother insisted on, was for all intents and purposes utterly unremarkable. A middling student at Blackwood College, majoring in something suitably vague, comparative literature, because honestly, what was practical these days? And mostly existing in a comfortable haze of library dust and lukewarm tea. My life wasn't bad, exactly. Just beige. I tracked attendance for Professor Eldridge's archaic poetry class, a skill honed from years of helping my father catalog his collection of antique firearms, a far cry from the life I was currently living. It was a safe, predictable existence, and, truthfully, I was beginning to find it suffocating. It arrived with a scent of pine and damp earth. A package, addressed in a spidery hand I didn't recognize, left on my dorm room desk. Inside, nestled amongst dried herbs and what looked like animal fur, was a tarnished silver locket and a single, pressed raven feather. A note, brittle with age, accompanied them. The Blackwood legacy calls. The Whisperwind is stirring. The Whisperwind, a local legend, dismissed as folklore, about a creature that preyed on the edges of the Blackwood forest, said to be a protector of sorts, but also dangerous. My father had dismissed it as old wives' tales. But the locket, it was identical to one my grandmother had lost years ago during a research trip to Blackwood Forest. A trip she never fully recovered from. I almost threw the whole thing away. Dismissed it as a prank, a misguided attempt at a creepy college romance. I wasn't a hero. I wasn't an adventurer. I was a student, buried in books and caffeine. The thought of venturing into Blackwood Forest, chasing after a legend, was ludicrous. My father would have my hide. He'd warned me repeatedly about the dangers of romanticizing the wilderness. He'd spent his life managing it, respecting its power, not chasing after mythical creatures. I tried to ignore it, to focus on my essays, my readings, my meticulously organized life. But the locket, it felt warm against my skin, a constant, nagging reminder. Old Man Hemlock, the groundskeeper, was a walking encyclopedia of Blackwood lore. He'd seen generations of students come and go, and he possessed a quiet, knowing gaze that made me instantly uncomfortable. I found him tending to the rose garden, his hands gnarled and stained with earth. Hesitantly, I showed him the locket. He didn't react with surprise, just a slow, deliberate nod. The Iron Veil family has always been tied to the Whisperwind, he said, his voice raspy. Your grandmother, she understood. She was a tracker, a listener. She knew the forest spoke. He gave me a worn leather-bound journal, filled with my grandmother's meticulous notes, sketches, and warnings. This will help you listen, Dawnspark. But be warned, the forest doesn't give up its secrets easily. The Blackwood Forest wasn't the idyllic wilderness I'd imagined. It was dark, claustrophobic, and permeated by a sense of ancient watchfulness. Leaving the manicured lawns of Blackwood College felt like stepping into another world. I exchanged my worn jeans and hoodie for heavier, more practical clothing, my backpack laden with supplies, my grandmother's journal clutched tightly in my hand. The air hung thick and damp, smelling of pine needles and decaying leaves. I crossed the boundary line, marked by a crumbling stone wall, and with each step, I felt a sense of finality. There was no turning back. I was no longer Office's Iron Veil, the unremarkable student. I was Dawnspark, following in my grandmother's footsteps, venturing into the unknown. The forest tested me, not with grand, monstrous threats, but with subtle challenges. A misleading trail, a sudden downpour, the constant feeling of being watched. I encountered a group of forestry students, dismissive of the Whisperwind legend, but helpful nonetheless, sharing their knowledge of the terrain. I also stumbled upon a reclusive hermit, Old Man Tiber, who claimed to communicate with the spirits of the forest. He warned me of a shadow lurking within the woods, a creature born of grief, and forgotten memories. And then there were the tracks. Large, feline, and undeniably not belonging to any animal native to the region. I was being followed, studied, assessed. The forest was deciding if I was worthy. The journal led me to a hidden clearing, bathed in an ethereal glow. In the center stood an ancient oak tree, its branches reaching towards the sky like gnarled fingers. This was the heart of the Whisperwind, my grandmother had written, the place where the creature's energy was strongest. The air crackled with an unseen power. As I approached, I felt a presence, a sense of intelligence watching me from the shadows. A low growl echoed through the trees. I wasn't alone, and whatever was out there, it wasn't happy to see me. It wasn't a monster, not in the traditional sense. The Whisperwind was a creature of pure energy, shimmering and shifting like a mirage. But it was wounded, consumed by a deep, ancient sorrow. The creature attacked not with claws or teeth, but with illusions, forcing me to relive my deepest fears and insecurities. My grandmother's journal became my shield, her words reminding me of my strength, my purpose. I realized the creature wasn't trying to harm me, but to test me, to see if I was capable of understanding its pain. I closed my eyes, reached out with my own energy, and offered it compassion. The illusion shattered. The creature recoiled, then slowly, cautiously, allowed me to approach. The creature, a being of pure, shimmering light, gifted me a single feather, identical to the one I'd found in the package. But this feather pulsed with energy, radiating warmth and understanding. It wasn't a weapon, but a key to unlocking the forest's secrets, to understanding its delicate balance. More importantly, it was a connection, a symbol of trust between the human world and the wild. Returning to Blackwood College felt strange. The mundane routines of student life seemed trivial, insignificant. I'd glimpsed something ancient and powerful, something that had changed me irrevocably. The college administration, however, wasn't pleased. Rumors of my disappearance and eccentric behavior had spread. They demanded an explanation, threatened disciplinary action. I realized protecting the Whisperwind meant keeping its existence a secret, even from those I trusted. The burden of knowledge was heavy. A local logging company, driven by greed, had discovered the heart of the Whisperwind and planned to clear-cut the surrounding forest. They dismissed the local legends as superstition, ignoring the ecological damage they would cause. They sent a team of enforcers to silence anyone who opposed them. I knew I had to act, to defend the forest and the creature I'd come to understand. Armed with my grandmother's journal, the Whisperwind feather, and a newfound sense of purpose, I confronted them. It wasn't a physical battle, but a test of wills. I used my knowledge of the forest, my understanding of the Whisperwind, and my unwavering determination to expose their plans and rally support from the local community. The logging company's plans were thwarted, and the heart of the Whisperwind was declared a protected sanctuary. I returned to Blackwood College, no longer the unremarkable student I once was. I continued my studies, but my life had found a new direction. I became a vocal advocate for environmental conservation, using my knowledge and experience to protect the wild places I'd come to love. The Whisperwind feather remained a constant reminder of the power of compassion, the importance of listening, and the enduring magic that exists in the world, waiting to be discovered. I was Dawnspark, protector of the forest, and my journey had just begun.